Yeah, welcome back to day 3 of becoming a fund 600k trader. We'll jump straight into it with a bit of analysis and then perhaps a lesson. We'll see. CAD JPY, just, I don't even know what's going on here. This week's market hasn't been particularly opportunistic, to be honest. It was a little choppy, bunch of movements that didn't really make any sense, but if you look at this move here on the 4 hour, it looks choppy as hell. But on the daily, it makes much more sense, which is break of the lower low and then a retracement back into the daily area of interest with a doji candle, and I presume it's going to go down. This is perhaps a excellent setup that we could take a look at. I mean, if the Friday doesn't do it, hopefully it'll just end up like another doji. It'll look like this, with, of course, the wicks. Hopefully that happens. If not, I very much expect that this would just go straight down like that. Because you're having double touches, you have all the different things, nearly head and shoulder pattern going off here. I mean, the only thing I could say is this would have been a good high-risk trade, right? So for now, no trade on CAD JPY. Checked all the markets, not really anything trading there. AUD NZD was obviously something that I took, got stopped out, which doesn't happen very often, but this was last week, so it's not really relevant. No, actually, this was on Monday. Never mind, my fault. This is on Monday, and I got stopped out. Now, these things happen. I tried my very best to stay away from getting stopped out, and it happens very rarely, but it happened. So, it is what it is. And with this one here, obviously, you see on the 4 hour, we broke below, but obviously not enough pressure to, because we were already in the entry right here, and I posted the second entry right here somewhere. And with this here, it just simply doesn't look like it had enough pressure to go down. So if you see here, this was a bit of an area of interest. Seems like it just went in, rejected, and just went straight up, which is obviously very evident on the daily. So today we lost that trade, and then currently we might lose we might lose gold. Now, hopefully not, but if we do, it is what it is. Part of the game. It's the curse of starting funded challenges. I always, regardless, I always have a drawdown when I start a new account. It ends in profit, of course, and I pass, but it always ends in drawdown. I don't know why, it's just this streak. But hopefully this will have a rejection off of this point here and bounce up and go and break the lower high. Something also to note that you have to remember there are fees included into your trade, right? So currently right now, let's say this is down. I don't even know how much this is, very little. Let's see. Where's my measuring tool? So right now, this is about 0.2% down, which would have equivalent to about $100 from the account. For me, you see 300, right? You're like, why is that? Well, it's because fees. Holding over the long term, it works, but it doesn't work. I think it only really works for max a week. That would be it, but after a while there's something called a decay, which is like, let's say, for example, I'm going to draw a table. When you take the position, you have, let's say this is 100% profit, and this is time. So each tick represents 1 day, right? Like so. So this is profit. This is time. What happens is that this is at 100%, or very close to 100%. And what happens is slowly over time, you lose less and less and less, or you lose more and more and more of your position profit. So let's say it's up here, suddenly you're technically down here because of how long you've been holding it. So slowly over time until it actually does something which I've never experienced because I've never held it that long. But in theory, it should be possible where it reverses on you. So suddenly now the time has expired so far out. So let's say it's 2 months. The fees have gotten so high that regardless of how high this goes, unless it went up here, it's starting to cost you money to hold a winning position. So again, price could be up here and you'll be in drawdown, which is crazy. And obviously that's an extreme example and that happens very rarely, but it is technically possible. So that's the fee stuff. So just remember that. I was not familiar with this when I started trading, and suddenly you're like, what am I doing wrong? You're not doing anything wrong. It's just the way trading works and how fees work. GDP AUD here, obviously this shifted structure, but we never took the entry because it never broke our high low and we never got an entry signal. So loss avoided there. And Euro JPY very briefly touched the 4 hour. The 4 hour touched the daily area of interest, but since this is currently 10 o'clock on a Thursday, this doesn't seem like the best idea, does it? Because it's outside of trading hours, and on Friday we don't trade at all. That's just a rule. So you could very well do this and reject straight down, or more likely you'll do this and then a little bit of this and a little bit of this, then retrace and then go down, which could be on a Monday. So, in other news, which is quite exciting actually, historic, Bitcoin hit 100,000, which is absolutely crazy. Bitcoin finally hit 100K, actually 102. And I was part of this since, I'll try to find it. I'm fairly certain it was somewhere, I don't remember when the election was, but I was fairly certain I was somewhere around here. Like, let's say I entered right there. Somewhere in November, even less than that, the 30th of October, somewhere here. So I've held through all of this and finally went up to 100K. Obviously has to retrace right here, shake out the people who were like, okay, I took the profit, because that's what happens. And now I foresee it doing that. But, that's just me and my investing plan. That was pretty much it, actually. Remember the fees. It wasn't much of I'm not going to try to recoup the losses. It wasn't much of a super winning week, but that's just, sometimes it just happens. Sometimes you'll have weeks without finding a single setup and you'll be completely nuts. You won't understand anything. You're like, what's wrong with me? Am I doing something wrong? You're not. It's just sometimes the markets decide that this is not the time they want to show, and that usually happens in the winter. In the summer, it also got crazy. Yeah, I did not like the markets at all in summer. They were absolutely horrendous to try to trade. Because what happens in the markets in the summer, you have to remember everybody takes free. So I'll show you. It starts lagging like crazy. So I have this indicator thing on, which is non-gap candles, but there was certain pairs, perhaps not this one, that were just completely weirded out with how they were filling the candles. I'll try to find, I think GDP USD was the NZD maybe. Regardless, it was weird. So it's starting to come into that time where it's winter. It's starting to just, everybody has vacation. You have to remember this is still an institutionalized trading platform. But regardless, other than that, keep working, stay consistent. And yeah, I'll talk to you tomorrow.